YouTube, Reezonoticz back for part two of my Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 review. Where was I? I was addressing the negative comments. The next negative. So going back to that blockbuster critic comment about the kills should have been more inventive or should have been more using the technology of the day. Dude, I'm sorry, I do not agree with you at all, man. I think when it comes to a horror movie, a slasher movie, even a Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, you want Freddy to be brutal, nasty, and use that glove. That's what it's on his hand for, and he used it perfectly in this movie. So, like I said, you can answer me or comment. We'll discuss it, go back and forth, whatever. The next comment was that a lot of reviewers said that they didn't like it because it's supposed to be a reboot, yet it was so familiar because it used so many of the key scenes from the original, such as Freddy coming out of the wall, Freddy's glove coming out of the tub when Nancy's falling asleep in the tub. Um, the first death scene with the second death scene in this one, first death scene in the original where the Tina character gets thrown around the ceiling. Uh, there's nothing wrong with that, man. First of all, to pay honor to the original, you need to have legendary, iconic scenes like that put in this film, remade for this film, for a number of reasons. Number one, to pay tribute to the original. Number two, as fan service to the fans of the original. And if there's people seeing this movie from this new generation of youth that actually thinks that horror movies like Saw are good, for those kids and those that this youth and this generation that's gonna go watch it, that's never seen the original or vaguely remembers the original, you want to show them those legendary images, man. You can't leave that out of the Nightmare on Elm Street impact, the Nightmare on Elm Street vibe. You can't leave scenes like that out there. You need Freddy coming out of the wall. You need the glove coming out of the tub. That's one of the creepiest things that I can remember seeing in horror movie history. Nancy falling asleep on the tub, naked and vulnerable, her legs open, the glove coming out right there. That was terrifying, and they did it good in this one too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't agree with that. That's a stupid reason to give it a bad review. The other one was Jackie Earle Haley does not do a good job as Freddy. Now that one is the most ridiculous of all because anybody that has watched this film with an open mind, not determined to hate it because it's a remake, but with an open mind, will know that Jackie Earle Haley knocked the ball out of the park when it comes to playing Freddy Krueger. All right, he was just as creepy, if not in some ways, and this is no disrespect to Robert Englund because that's one of the all-time greats, and he owned that role for about 20 years. But he himself said his time is over. He's old. He's too old to do it. He gave his blessing to Jackie Earle Haley to do this. He agreed with the pick of Jackie Earle Haley, and no disrespect to him, but I think in a lot of ways Jackie Earle Haley was creepier than Robert Englund. Okay, because Robert Englund was terrifying in part one, but for the rest of him, he was comical. Okay, Jackie Earle Haley had that same swagger, that same screen presence that Robert Englund had, wearing the hat and the sweater and the glove and the posture and all that. But he had his own little spin to it, man. Like he did this little scissor blade thing that you've seen in the previews, where he would just play with the two blades like that, and it would make this scissor cutting noise that would just creep you out. His voice, bro, it was a lot scarier than Robert Englund's. Robert Englund's was more clown like, gesture like in the original. Not that it wasn't scary, it was, especially for back then. You got to remember these are 2 centuries apart. I mean, a century. I'm sorry, 2 decades apart. But his voice was a lot creepier for today's day and age and today's audience than Robert Englund's was. He sounded very sick. And what I mean by sick, I don't mean physically, I mean sick, like perverted and just nasty, man, and just creepy with the things he would say. They said that he didn't do a good job because he didn't do a lot of one-liners. Number one, we don't want Freddy to be funny. I've said that before, and real Freddy fans will agree. We don't want Freddy to be funny. We want that Freddy from part one. You know what I'm saying? And we got that and more in this movie. And yes, he did say a couple one-liners, and they span the entire series. He said the line from Nightmare on Elm Street 4, "How's this for a wet dream?" He said that one. He said the one from Freddy vs. Jason, "Your mouth says no, but your body says yes." He said the one from there was another one. I don't remember which one it was, but there was a couple of lines that he spat out that were from all the different series, from all the different movies in this franchise, and they were said still in a scary, frightening tone and at the right moment, not to get a laugh, but to get a cringe, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? So Jackie Earle Haley, to me, he did a Heath Ledger / Joker performance. That's how good it was. He is the new Freddy Krueger, and fans need to accept that and stop pissing and moaning because Robert Englund is not doing Freddy anymore. Get over it. Robert Englund was wonderful. He was awesome. He is the original Freddy Krueger. But times change. People age and can't do what they used to do, and now we have a new actor who's an Oscar award-winning actor playing Freddy Krueger, and he blows it out of the park. Okay, um, now that's for the negative comments, man. But going on to my actual review, I will warn you there will be a few spoilers in this review. I'll try not to spoil anything too major, but you can't really do an in-depth review of anything without really getting into it, and that's going to involve some spoilers. So here we go. First off, man, the cinematography in this movie, the camera work, the imagery was awesome. Okay, if you thought Freddy vs. Jason had good cinematography, and it did, and it had great imagery, this one blows it out of the water. Blows it out of the water. First of all, the way that this is a reboot or a reimagining of the series rather than just a remake is because they do tamper with the backstory. And they do people automatically hardcore fans get so upset with that. No, you can't change it. Well, if you would just shut up for a second and really look at what the story is in this movie, and you knew anything about Nightmare on Elm Street and Wes Craven, you would know that the story that they used in this movie, the way they tampered with it, was really making it originally what Wes Craven planned it to be from the beginning. In the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger is a child murderer who kills 20 to 30 kids on Elm Street before being killed by the parents. In this movie, he is not a child murderer. He did not go to trial. He didn't kill anybody when he was alive. He was a pedophile. He worked at the preschool and he molested the kids. Okay? And that's what Wes Craven originally wanted Freddy Krueger to be, a child molester. Okay? But he couldn't get away with that in the early 80s because the censors weren't as liberal as they are today. If you watch the documentary, if any of you have the special edition Nightmare on Elm Street DVD, from New Line that came out about 2 or 3 years ago, and it has all that special behind the scenes documentary. Watch that, and you'll see Wes Craven talk about it. If you have the Nightmare on Elm Street box set, the special bonus DVD, watch that, and he talks about it. That's what he originally intended Freddy Krueger to be. Not a child murderer, something in a lot of people's eyes much worse and much more sinister, a child molester. That's what he wanted him to be. And in this movie, that's what they made him. They made him a child molester who worked at the preschool, who worked as a gardener, and he was the kids' hero, man. The kids were his life, man. He was always playing tag with them, and they all loved him, and he used that to his advantage, and he would molest them. And then the parents started noticing stuff and noticing marks on their kids' bodies and things like that, and you see a couple of images of that. It's kind of strong, and that's when they pursue him. They don't even take him to court. They don't call the cops. They didn't want their kids to have to get on a witness stand and say to an open jury what happened to them. So the parents just took the kid's word for it, and they pursued him, and then they burned him alive in the boiler room. Okay, that's the story for this movie. Why do I think that works better than the original? Well, in the original, it seems like Freddy is just getting revenge against the parents, and he's killing these kids, and then therefore the victims don't really have a connection to Freddy because the victims in the original, Nancy, well, she didn't die in the original. I'm saying the people he stalks in the original, Nancy, Tina, Rod, Glenn, they didn't have any contact with Freddy until the dreams, so they don't even know who he is. There's no real connection there. The connection is between Freddy and the parents. Okay, well, in this one, he's getting revenge against the parents, but he's also getting revenge on the kids because of them squealing on him and snitching on him. He ended up how he ended up. And so now these kids have a deeper, more sinister and intimate connection with their stalker. Okay? They don't remember what happened to them because they were 4 and 5 years old when it happened. But they go discovering it as the movie goes on, and all of a sudden they see that they have a connection to this guy, and that's why he's after them. It makes a lot more sense, okay? So the plot and the story for this movie was epic, man. It was a lot more intelligent than the original Nightmare because it dove deeper into the backstory and it because of that it took a couple of twists and turns that you wouldn't expect. You know what I'm saying? They really have you on the edge of your seat. Not just, fear like because it's a horror movie, but psychologically you're trying to follow the plot, and it was really well done, man. I got to do a part 3 to this because I'm running out of time. So check out part 3 as I'll talk about the acting, a couple of key scenes, and just the overall feel of the movie, man. I'm telling you, this movie was amazing, bro. Check it out. God bless.